Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Everything Money Group. We have a live today. I'm expecting an wonderful live tonight with the mysterious Mr. X. He's an expert when it comes to financial, anything topic of finances, financial savings, investing, so forth. So, welcome, everybody. We're right on schedule. I just need to make sure I call him. So, you might see me for a second leave the frame. So let's get more people in. I'm going to invite more people. Welcome, Shelby. You're the very first that I see popped up. I'm inviting more people, and I'll be right back. Okay. Get to inviting more people. Uh-oh. I hate when it's so delayed. I'm trying to invite more people. This thing is like severely delayed. Okay, let's see here. 2, 3. Okay. Let's light on over here. Yay. Here, get started, and then I'm going to call Mr. X. And we're gonna get this thing rolling, honey. Yes. I hope you guys like the backdrop. Okay, welcome to 2020. I feel a great vibration already. I'm gonna talk. I'm gonna really go into detail as to what I personally feel regarding 2020 and how I feel about 2020 financially. What I'm expecting and what my resolutions are. And thank you for being patient. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start getting him prepared to come on. All right, let's see here. My glasses. I can't do nothing without them glasses, honey. Okay. Get more people in here. Invite more people, and then we'll be good to go. Okay, I'm having a little bit of delay over here. Every time I push invite, it looks like it takes forever. Oh, it's moving fast now. Finally. Okay, finally. I got a silver goblet today. And I tried to dress the part. We're talking money, so try to look a little expensive. Okay. A little bling on the glasses, Just letting the Lord know I'm ready when He's ready. I think we're good. Whoever's meant to catch it will catch it. Okay. Fantastic. I'm ready now. Let me go ahead and call Mr. X. Oh, we got Latasha, we got Tova, we got Shelby, we got Felice Grace. I love you, Felisa. Thank you guys for joining. Y'all be ready. I can't wait for Demetrius Perriman to show up. That's my buddy. And he and Mr. X should be getting in touch. Mr. X says he would love to continue a conversation about money and investments and real estate and all that with Demetrius. So Demetrius, I hope you get to see this. So I'm calling him now. Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us. We're going to have an amazing session tonight. I feel it. And I'm calling him now.
Hello. Hello.
I'm calling for Mr. X, please.
Hello?
Hi, Mr. X. It's me.
Hello.
It's me, D. Taylor. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Hold on. Let me get my kids are all riled up. Let me get to a quiet place.
Okay. And you guys, can you hear Mr. X okay? Somebody send me a yes or a no. Let me know if his volume needs to be turned up a little bit. let me know, you guys. We're just getting set up here. Again, welcome to 2020. I have my silver goblet. Yes, I'm bringing 2020 in with the silver goblet, honey. You know what I'm saying? Just, you got to look the part at some time, at some point. The law of attraction.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I agree.
I mean, I'm talking to you too, I guess. I'm talking to the audience while you do your thing, but I'm glad you're still present. And I appreciate you for coming back. I really do. I know this is, you've had a lot, probably on your plate with what's going on in Washington and what's happening governmental-wise. So for you to take your time and come on, I really, 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 we all appreciate you. Thank you so much. Okay,
Thank you.
Are you situated yet? Are you comfortable?
Yes, I'm ready. I'm ready. So,
yes, you are. I had spoken with your wife briefly earlier, and she told me how you were reminding her. So she reminded me. She said, "Oh, he's ready." So I'm so excited. It's been a while. It's been a couple of months. Okay.
Yeah, I think it was either October or early November, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Okay, so I know you spent some time in Washington. How often do you go? Do you go to Washington, D.C. quite often or no?
I go usually once every other month.
Once every other month?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's a lot of traveling. Okay. I want to welcome a couple of more people. Welcome Louisa, welcome Patricia. We have the amazing, I call him a financial wizard. I'm going to give you guys the premise and let you know that he cannot and will not give advice, but what he can do is touch on things, and perhaps you can connect your dots, and you can sift the information and use it for your benefit. But I have never known him to be inaccurate. And that's something that his wife prides herself on knowing. And he's so humble. I don't know if he prides himself on. I don't know if you do, Mr. X. But I think it's incredible how you and we talk very often, quite often, and how you are always spot on. Usually, in regards to where the market is headed.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I think it's a combination of just putting pieces together of different pieces of information I have, and then sometimes you just got to go with a feeling too.
The gut.
Mm-hmm.
But it seemed like though, it's like you have an internal. I don't know. Is it because you're so degreed, or is it because have you always had a talent for numbers?
I don't know if it's the numbers, to be honest. I've always, I think, had a ability to see something before it happens, but not like know what's going to happen. Just see that if I do this, then this will probably happen. I really deal a lot with probability. So if I do this, what's the probability I lose money? What's the probability I make money? And I do that with almost everything in life, is because really the stock market is a very difficult game to play, especially when you're playing against people with inside information. Even though that they say that the SEC is cracking down on that goes on like crazy. So you don't have the most up to date information. There's somebody who's getting it an hour before the public is, like, guaranteed.
Really?
And honestly, Congress gets it before anybody else does, and they've been lining their pockets for years. But that's probably a conversation for another day. But but the thing is I just deal in probabilities, because I just think, okay, the market's at this rate. What's the probability it's going to go higher? What's the probability it's going to go lower? I'm not always right, but I try to be more right than I am wrong. That's kind of how I look at it.
It sounds like I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, no one can be 100% right all the time. It's impossible. And anybody who is, I mean, it was nice for you to tell me I'm not wrong, but I am wrong at certain times. But it's usually sometimes it's like the timing's off.
Mm-hmm.
Usually I kind of have the right thesis of what's going to happen, but it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't always fall into place in the timeline that I'm looking at.
It sounds to me like you have financial ESP. You have intuition, financial intuition. It's a gift because it sounds a lot like me too. Sometimes I'm spot on, and sometimes I'm a hair off. But it's
Mhm.
still in the right direction. And the feeling that I get always at least help prevent something that could be a major mistake. If I just listen to whatever I feel, I usually escape some form of calamity or disappointment or downfall, or maybe a bad investment,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So I guess that's how it is for you too. Now I have these gold, what they call them, they're $100 bills. They're gold commemorative $100 bills. They're a little bit bigger than the actual $100 bills, and they're lined
Mhm.
with gold. You ever seen those? And it has the gold feather and the gold thing. Well, I ordered these and they're amazing. So I'm collecting these now. So I was wondering, it's a hobby, but I was wondering, is that something that I might be able to, maybe is it worth trying to like
Well,
accumulate?
I mean, I guess if it's a hobby, that's something that's
It's
the one
actually
thing I'll
gold.
tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
24
mean
karat
it's gold, so it does have value. Okay, so
Okay.
it's not something that doesn't have any kind of intrinsic value other than like somebody thinks it's cool. So those are the type of things I look for is things that have some kind of intrinsic value.
Mm-hmm.
So I like some of the things is I do buy some like gold coins and things, but for most part I really buy it for just kind of like a hedge. I'll buy gold bars and I'll buy certain coins. There's only like a couple coins that I bought because I think it's going to go up in value, just because there was such a shortage on the mint that they had. Usually I like to see it if it's like if there's like less than 900, then I definitely want one, because as time goes on, then I know it's going to go up in value. But for the most part, when I buy things, I'm really looking at the underlying intrinsic value. But that doesn't mean that when you talk about the gold bills, that doesn't have value.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a lot of things, where Beanie Babies in the late '90s were fetching all kinds of money. And the thing I think is if someone's willing to pay for it, then hey, that could be a good investment. But it does have an underlying value, and that's extremely important, at least how I look at things.
I'm holding a penny. It's a gigantic penny, uncirculated, and it's real copper. And I collected it. It's bigger than a quarter, and it's bigger than a silver dollar. It's about the size of a silver dollar, but it's a quarter. It's a penny. It's real.
Yeah, I've seen those. Those are kind of cool.
So
I will say that.
Penny.
I was going to say that copper is an interesting metal in that copper is, that basically a penny is not even copper anymore. It's it's kind of plated with copper. So if you can get a commemorative one that's pure copper, that's because a penny actually, the government, it costs them exactly 1 cent, so they don't make any money off minting that. Any pennies. If you can find a penny from 1944 that has pure copper, then that is worth an ungodly amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
I think one went for over $100,000 because there's only 9 of them in the world or something like that. That was during the war effort.
Mm-hmm.
But copper actually, the reason I'm glad that you brought that up is I don't buy a lot of copper. But I do buy some copper coins because I feel like copper is kind of, I don't think it's anytime soon. I don't even think maybe anytime in the next 10 years. But I think copper will appreciate, and it's starting to be it was kind of just an industrial metal for a long time, and now you're seeing like you can buy like copper rounds and things at some of the precious metal dealers. And it's really cheap. It's only like you can get a bunch for like $1 or something. And I just think I think that's something in the future that would be nice to have.
Mm-hmm.
Because here's the thing, palladium right now is almost $2,000 an ounce because it's used in catalytic converters.
Mm-hmm.
And a long time ago, nobody even wanted that. So that's kind of how I look at my thesis for copper. And there's just not enough of palladium in the world. It actually even passed platinum, which is kind of surprising.
Well, I've been collecting small little gold bars,
Mm-hmm.
the Buffalo Bullion.
Yes.
I have those.
That's a good buy.
I have the small ones,
I think any amount of gold is good. Now, I would say think of gold, though. You can either think of it as a hobby, but also think of it as insurance, because gold works when nothing else is working.
Right.
So that's why I own gold.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not going to yield you the returns that a stock market would. So, I never tell everybody to put all their money in gold, but you got to have some, because you have to prepare for some kind of calamity that will happen. In 2000, actually, since 2000, gold has been one of the best performers. It was the best performing asset of the early 2000s, from 2000 to 2010. So it has its run. I think it has a ways to go. I actually do think, though, that I think I said this on the last time I was on, I think silver is pretty cheap, actually, and it's historically cheap compared to gold. Gold is being held because it's it's kind of the hedge against government printing dollars, but silver is also when gold gets too expensive, people pile into silver. And I've seen silver projections all over the board where it's up to $5,000 an ounce, $3,000, somewhere around there. But it's at $20 an ounce. So I don't think anybody could go wrong with getting silver. And I think junk silver is okay, but I actually like fine silver. To me, any metal, if it's not 0.99 gold or 99 silver, is not something that I spend a lot of money on, just because I want something that's pure. Because then the problem is that when it's half something else, half this, the price of gold is pure. So I always know what the price of what I have is. I'm not going to do percentages on this is 85% this and 80 something. So that's why I generally buy that. But yeah, I think silver is a good buy. Gold, I expect, usually January is one of the best months to buy gold. But this year, I don't think that's going to be the case, because you've seen gold kind of spiking going into the year. And a lot of that is because of the deficits. And I think you're going to see it go a little bit higher because of this Iran thing going on. Yeah. But usually after a few months, that will kind of flatten out. And I expect oil to outperform for like the first quarter, like oil-related stocks and stuff. Not because there's a disruption to supply, because the U.S. now pumps it. It won't have the same effect as like a 2008 would, where right now oil would be at $150 a barrel after the U.S. killed that general over there. But now, because the U.S. is pumping so much oil onto the market, it should still outperform, but it's not gonna go crazy the way it did. But the thing I will tell you, though, is I don't expect this Iran thing to develop in a full-scale war, because Iran also knows that they can't really match the U.S. on the battlefield.
Yeah, but if they're getting assistance from, I didn't mean to cut you off, but if they're getting assistance and getting their weaponry from China and other countries, then
I'll be honest, unless it's a nuclear weapon, they can't match the technology, because China's military can't meet the United States either. Neither can Russia's. The only thing that keeps each other in check is really nuclear weapons, because it just demolishes both countries. But as far as in a conventional war, China would not win a conventional war with the United States. Now, having said that, if China keeps going the rate they're going, in 10 years, that could be even draw. I couldn't even tell you. I'd say right now, because China's ripping off all our technology and stealing, and they're coming out with stuff faster than we can do it.
Because
so
they're not so consumed with, what's coming on TV next, and they have been trained militantly from childhood. They've been made to be made aware of the importance of the bottom line, and to produce as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. Now, with going back to the Iran, I would expect China and Russia to send like missile launchers and all that kind of stuff, because they just like to do that to bother the United States. But the United States got so much stuff, they can take out half that stuff. The thing that worries me, not necessarily, is, I've been I'll just tell the viewers here, I've been to the Middle East.
Mm.
And I fought in one of the wars there, and those are the most pointless wars ever. None of us, I'm going to tell you, you can see what you see on TV, but none of the people on the ground there ever thought we should have been there. Most times we didn't even know what we were doing. We're like, well, what are we here for? All the people hated us there, and we couldn't figure out, I won't even get into the whole thing with the whole weapons of mass destruction. Then it's, oh, well, he was just a bad guy, but now you've destabilized the whole region. You let Iran grow in influence because Saddam, even though he was horrible, was actually keeping them in check. So I don't actually like even the fact that there could be a war over there, but I don't think this president really wants a war. But this president is very unpredictable, and if he thinks that will help him get reelected, he might just do one. I don't.
Well, I think I feel like if he thinks he's possibly going to be impeached, that he might just go ahead and say, you know what, let's implement martial law. Let me become the first dictator and let them get over it. He's that cocky, he's that arrogant, he's that pompous, and he's that unpredictable, and that's scary.
Well, those are all very true. I don't think it will go that. I think at some point, and it's really pushing. It's really pushing here. The Republicans will stand up and say enough is enough, but they're not there yet. So
they're not going to be there. I'll tell you why. Sorry.
Well, I already know why. They want to be reelected.
They want to be right.
Mm-hmm.
We have a question. Patricia
Sure.
says, if I may, if this is time to go fixed income all the way, if it's time to go, she wants to know if this is the time to go fix your income all the way, to get your act together financially. Is this the time to do that?
Okay, so she's not asking about fixed incomes like investing in bonds.
Well, let me
find out.
Let me ask her.
Is this the time to get it?
She can hear you.
Get it all. Okay.
You can ask her directly too, because she can hear you. They all can hear you. Okay, so Patricia says, question, if I may, if it's time to go fixed income all the way. Oh, you're right. She's literally asking about fixed income. I didn't know what that was. I thought fixed income was like to put yourself on fixed income. But no, she's actually talking about what you're talking about.
I don't feel that way. I don't feel, first of all, bonds are yielding practically nothing. And I guess that's better than going down. But, I mean, here's the thing. The one thing about wars is it scares everybody, but wars make people a lot of money, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. I mean, you think about the war, the war that we had in Iraq, the stock market went crazy after that. They were just waiting for that because they could, Wall Street can sell all these defense contracts and everything. And ever since 9/11, when we were in wars in the 90s, the defense stocks weren't doing very well, and they've done really well. And that means more government spending if there's a war, because they got to keep the people happy. So that means more money pumped in the system. So I don't see where, personally, at least not now, I don't think fixed income and bonds after the whole killing of this general have actually dropped really low as far as their yield, and I don't see a whole lot of value there. I would look at something outside of the U.S. if you wanted some kind of yield. I just don't think you're going to get any kind of return. But if you're worried about capital preservation, I would just go put it into a high yield savings account that's yielding almost the same thing. Like you could put it in like, Yeah, like something like Marcus that Goldman Sachs has, they're at like 1.7, and that's pretty much what a bond's yielding, and you can pull your money out at any time. You don't have to worry about it going down in value. Because
Okay.
I don't think the bonds, I don't think the U.S. will get to quite negative interest rates, but they're pretty close to zero right now. So I don't really see a whole lot of upside in bonds. And I actually feel like this is done by design, by the Federal Reserve, who wants people to shove their money in the stock market to keep this going as long as they can by making every other investment vehicle unattractive. Because really the only way that you can get any kind of yield right now is the stock market. And that's what's pushing up these prices to stuff that I've not seen since like 2000, but that's really the only game in town. Nothing else is cheap either. I think bonds are even more expensive than stocks are.
Yes, investing in bonds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and China.
No, that should. So let me just put it this way: you should have some bond exposure, but that wouldn't be the majority of my portfolio.
Bond exposure.
Mm-hmm.
Break that down.
So usually, if you're constructing a portfolio, depending on somebody's risk tolerance, what I would normally do is I'd ask them, okay, how much risk can you handle? And the best way to ask that question, this is for the viewers, you ask yourself this question, is in 2008, what did I do? If you sold out all of your stocks, then you probably can't handle risk very well. If you bought more, then you can handle the risk really well. But so taking those questions and constructing a portfolio, you want at least, when I do mine, I know that I'm going to get way better returns in the stock market, but I also have to account for, some things not going well or whatever. So when the stocks aren't working, I want something else working, at least temporarily. So what I usually do is a portfolio of 80% equities and 20% bonds. And if right now bonds are so unattractive that I can almost go to 10% bonds just because and I have a much higher risk tolerance, so don't copy exactly what I'm saying. These are questions you have to ask yourself. But I just don't see the risk reward for that. Now, I mean, having said that, if bonds go down to like -5, you probably made a lot of money on those bonds. I just don't see that happening. And if they do that, we got bigger problems as a world if the U.S. starts yielding negative bonds.
Yeah. I'm going to see if anyone have any questions. Any questions?
Sure.
You have some really great information, I think we should consider. But I'll continue to ask questions since I don't see too many other questions.
Well, here's the thing. Let me just talk about, since we're in a new year, I'm sure some people want to know what's going to happen this year. And this is my best guess. I think we're going to have some kind of sell-off, some kind of correction in the first quarter. I'm thinking probably maybe like something around 10%. It could actually be maybe when Iran retaliates, because Iran will retaliate. They're not just going to let that happen. And I don't think they're going to want to wait to retaliate. I think they're going to want to do it within the next 2 weeks or something like that, just from what I know from being in the military and everything, just how they operate. So I think they're going to want to do that, and I think that might spark a sell-off, because if you look at what I call the Santa Claus rally, which is the week before, the week of Christmas and then the week of New Year's, the market went up considerably. And I think the market's a little bit pricey at this point, stock market. I was looking this weekend for stuff that I wanted to buy, stocks. I couldn't find anything that really interested me. Everything looked expensive to me. And even things that some of the brokerages like Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley had on their conviction buy list, when I went and looked at it, I was like, it doesn't look that great. I mean, if you had a sell-off, then maybe I would kind of go back in, look for some things that were interesting. Because even in a sell-off, if you're worried about beyond 2020, which is what I tend to be, you might be able to get some decent companies that yield, like Coca-Cola I think they're kind of diversifying away from just soda, and I think they have some ways to go. Some of the things I like are anything that's kind of 5G, because that's the next thing. Cloud computing stuff that's sold off, that would be interesting. Those type of things. But right now, everything looks so expensive.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's going to happen. I think you'll have some kind of correction. You may have a deeper correction sometime in the summer. A lot of this is dependent on like who gets the Democratic nomination.
Really?
I think, yeah, because Wall Street is scared to death of Elizabeth Warren. So if Elizabeth Warren looks like she might get the Democratic nomination, her or Bernie Sanders, the market's going to sell off because although Trump did beat Clinton, he is historically an unpopular president, and he only won because he pulled a straight flush and won every state that he had to win when it looked like there was no way he could do that on the map. So he's vulnerable, and that would make Wall Street nervous. But I honestly think he's going to win because I don't. This is just my personal feeling. I'm not saying I'm not going to.
I'm sorry. I predicted he's gonna. I predict not that he's gonna win. I predict that he's not gonna be let go right now because he's setting it up to where he's gonna be needed.
He's going to be needed, but also, why do you think we're cutting rates? You're at the end of a business cycle to be at like 5% by now historically, and they're hanging around like 1.7 on a 10-year. That's terrible. That's like never happened before. So they're just juicing this economy to tell everybody, look how much better you're doing when you're really not. Because when a carton of eggs cost like $8, I mean, you're not doing as well no matter how much money you got in the stock market when everything costs more.
I just kind of look at it like we're just being able to allow to see the truth, what we have not been able to see because you've got to remember that our country has been pretty much, we have been blindsided with actors. Like, they've always done things with like Hollywood actors, they project one lifestyle, one way, to us, but in reality, they're actually not living like they project themselves to live. You know what I mean? With the fake smiles and the plastic surgery and the Oscars and the speaking proper, doing everything, politically correct, commercial. And now the veil is lifted and we can really just see the truth that they've always been corrupt, it's always going to be corrupt, and this is just how it is. I just think we're able to see the truth.
Right. And what I do think, and the reason I think he's going to get elected is he's going to juice this economy. He's going to probably use this Iran thing, say he's strong, he's standing up for America, and people like that. And I think he'll get reelected. Here's what concerns me. I'm concerned about not necessarily the first half of this year. I'm more concerned about the second half. I've actually said, I was on record as saying, I think 2021, it could go as long as 2022. After he gets reelected, I think the rug's are going to get pulled out, and you're going to find that the economy wasn't as good as he was saying, and then there's nothing that's really going to be able to hide that anymore.
Well, you keep
because once there is no more juice left from the Fed to take rates lower. They can take it a little bit lower, but they're not going to do much. Because right now, the reason why when I said I thought when it looked bad in the fall, I said the market's going to go up is because it takes about 6 months from a rate cut to make it actually make its way through
really?
From when the Fed cuts to get there. Now they're not planning on cutting at all this year, and they're always late to the party. So I mean, what can they cut again? Maybe another couple basis points. That's not. I mean, if you're in a recession, you need at least 5 basis points to cut to really stimulate. So this could be a long, drawn-out thing. And then you cut taxes that really went to only wealthy people, and that really didn't do anything. And now you don't have enough revenue, and you're kind of forced from a country standpoint is your bond yields are going to go up. So talking about bonds, I want to see some inflation before I invest in bonds. because a yield at 2% doesn't get me out of bed, but you get to like 4, 5, 6, I'm kind of interested then. And that will happen if the U.S. keeps printing money, and the world will start losing faith in America's ability to pay back their bills.
So inflation is a good sign for moving
No,
in the wrong
inflation.
direction?
Where bonds are now, yes. But the thing is inflation can keep going. That's my point. Is you could find something. You could buy a bond at 6%. I'd have to look at the environment there, because I mean, if the U.S. can't pay back their bonds, you know, when Greece couldn't pay back their bonds, they were yielding like 15%. So it can keep going. And back in 1980, our bonds were like 15 up to 18%, and then they've just been going down because the dollar is seen as a safe haven. As soon as we're not seen as a safe haven, yields are going to go up considerably on treasuries.
Yields will go up considerably on treasuries.
Yes. Because right now they're cutting rates because they're trying to fight deflation. But they can turn a deflation into an inflation really quickly by overprinting money. Mm-hmm. And every country around the world, every central bank is doing it. Japan, Europe's doing negative rates. Japan's been doing negative rates for China's cutting. Everybody's just pumping money into the world, thinking, oh, well, if we just keep doing this, it's going to be fine. But all you're doing is prolonging the inevitable and probably making it worse.
What's the inevitable?
The inevitable is this money is not going to be worth anything.
Wow. I'm going to see if anyone has.
That's why I tell everyone you just need to own some gold, because if they keep doing this, gold is the only thing that has intrinsic value. The same with silver; it always has. I'm not a big. I have some cryptocurrency, but that's just in case that's the next big thing. I like things. That's like Bitcoin. I do own some of that, but because in case that is a big thing, but I actually feel like owning something I can hold in my hand and go to the store with.
Exactly.
Who is not going to accept a gold bar? Nobody's going to say, no, I'm sorry, I want a U.S. dollar instead. No one. If it gets to that point.
Exactly.
That's my.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing that we can discuss further, you know. But before we go any further, I want to request that you guys start asking questions. That's why we're in the group. So please ask some questions. It doesn't have to be about the topic. You can just throw in something, and I will ask the question. It could be something in regards to starting your business or, you know, investing. What you think, you know, is the best thing to start your first investment and so forth, and real estate and you know, and all that. Whatever you want to ask, this is the time to ask. This is why we're here live. Okay, he doesn't come on that often. So you don't want to get off and then be like, oh, I should have asked the question. Don't be shy. Go ahead and ask the questions. All right? I mean, while we can do this, I would like to continue. But if people don't ask questions, I'm going to stop inviting him in. I'm going to stop having these lives with Mr. X if you guys are not going to capitalize on, you know, his time and his presence. Okay, so right now, I'm feeling like your wife and I were joking earlier when we were talking about how I'm feeling, and she said that you kind of done picked it up yourself as well. I'm feeling like I am at an age right now where I deserve to have the finest, even if I have to invest little by little, just for my personal, because I deserve it. And she says that you're kind of there now too. Like you're saying, you know what, you know, Dee's right. I'm not gonna just buy stuff just because, you know, I like it or whatever. I'm gonna buy stuff that has value and that can, you know, benefit us long term. So is that where you are, and what got you there?
Well, I've been someone who I don't normally spend a lot of money on things. It's just not. I don't know. I just never was into that. So almost since the time I was probably 17, 18, like any extra money I had, I put in the stock market, or I was buying something that would go up in value. And even if I think back to my childhood, I was big into baseball cards and football cards and things and stamps and things that actually could go up in value. So it's kind of something that's always been in me. But the thing, how I got there is I am just tired of junk. I am tired of stuff made from China that if I get it, it breaks in 6 months. I will pay a premium to get something that I can actually last longer than a few months before the plastic and everything breaks on it. And so I don't know if I had gotten there by, if I've always been there, but I normally don't buy things for myself. But I am at an age where there's a lot of nice things that I've wanted that I've never really purchased for myself, just because I've always kind of in that saving mode. And I do think that part of the whole idea with that is to, if you work hard, I'm not saying to blow all your money, but you should have something that you enjoy, that, makes you feel good. And it does have some underlying value, something that I could pass down to my kids. So my point is, you were joking about the goblet, but that's because I saw one online, and it was one from, I don't know if it was King Henry or some king in England, and they had and it was something that was, it was pure silver, so it had intrinsic value, but it was something that, I've been drinking out of these glass mugs that we've had for like the last 15 years, and so why can't I have something like that? That has no value. So I think it is good to treat yourself to something.
Forgive me, I'm sorry, I dropped something. Go ahead.
Oh, as long as as long as you can afford it. That's my point.
Well, my thing, and go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I want you to go ahead, because I'm going to go to the next, another thing I wanted to.
Okay, real quick. My thing, though, I can't afford it. I can't afford it. So I resell it. I go to the resale shops. I go to Goodwill. I go to thrift shops. I go to places like that where I get the real deal, real cheap. I go to the auction. So a lot of things that I buy for myself can be auctioned later or sold later for way more than I buy it for. So, I was showing them while you were talking, I was showing them my Mark McGuire commemorative, looked like a bobblehead, but it's actually a figure, and it's still in the case, so that's worth something. And Sammy Sosa, they're worth something together because they were going against each other then. And so I showed them that, and I showed them some of the coins and some of the gold leaf dollars and so forth, etc. So $100 bills. So I buy little by little. I accumulate. And so that's another way of going as well. A lot of times we feel like, oh, I don't have enough to buy this. Well, you know what? Search for what you want in resale. Look for it in auctions. And invest little by little until you accumulate a lot. You'll be surprised.
Right, and I want to piggyback off that. I was earlier talking about one of the biggest values I see is silver, because it's only $20 an ounce. Mm-hmm. And you can go to some of the things that you do. I used to do when I was younger. I just don't have time to do.
I'm late.
And it's not that. It's like I was always looking for treasure. Maybe I was a pirate in my last life or something, but I always loved that. But at estate sales, at garage sales and things, you can find some huge gems. And let me give you an example of that is things that have value, like you said. Sometimes you can stumble across at an estate sale somebody selling silverware, but it's pure silver, and they just don't know. They just think it's some junk that they bought from TJ Maxx or whatever. But if you can tell the difference, that is probably worth, you get a whole set, like a dining room set, that would probably be worth, at least a couple $100, definitely. Yeah, because as long as it's pure silver, but a lot of people, see, back in the day before we outsourced everything, a lot of things, that old saying, they don't make it like they used to. Mm-hmm. They used to, like, even in our money used to be gold. It used to be silver. You actually, Morgan silver dollars from that you can find, from the 1800s to I think it was 1904 it stopped or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Those were pure silver. Those were silver. That was actual silver. You don't see that in our money now. It's zinc and whatever other cheap stuff they can find.
Right.
So it was all used. That's what was the standard back then, was pure silver. That's where you get the phrase silverware, because it was silver. So that's a good way to, if you can find that, that's a good way actually to pay very little for something that's worth more. You can even melt it down in your garage.
Really?
And probably, yeah. I can show you how to melt it down. I actually know how to do that.
Really? Doesn't the heat have to be at a certain, Fahrenheit?
Yeah, but you can do it with a blowtorch though.
What?
You're not gonna. I mean, yeah. There's actually you can find gold in old cell phones. You can find silver in old cell phones. You're not going to get a lot of it, but you can accumulate that. Silver's in every cell phone. Remember what I had told you about silver is you could take away all the gold out of the world and really nothing would happen. But if you took out all the silver, nobody would have a solar panel. Nobody could have a tration. Nobody could have a cell phone. That silver's used in like everything. That's why the population grows. Silver's just going to be more in demand,
So-
and I think it's cheap because there's one thing: gold is basically held as a hedge against inflation because it's been that way for hundreds of years. But silver is actually a precious metal that has industrial use.
Okay,
Gold
but
does
what
not.
about other metals like platinum?
I own some platinum. I think platinum is platinum and palladium are kind of interesting to me. Platinum used to be worth more than gold, but when it kind of after 2008, it kind of went in a different direction where they were using platinum in cars, and then they started using palladium in it for like more fuel efficient. And that's why palladium is worth so much more. And I have a feeling that because the thing is, though, is that they can interchange those two. And if palladium becomes too expensive, they'll switch back to platinum because the car makers they're in the business to make money. So they want to cut their costs on everything. And palladium is $2,000 an ounce.
Mm-hmm.
They know that if they jack the price of the car up, people won't buy it. But they can put cheaper metal in there, and that should make platinum rise. So I like platinum. I own some of it. It's not. I don't accumulate it the way I do with silver or gold.
Mm-hmm.
But it's another metal that I like. I like copper, and palladium's just too expensive. And I made a mistake. I should have bought that last year because I was looking at it, but I didn't think it was going to go up another $700. It did per ounce. So I mean, that was a really good performer last year.
Wow.
It almost doubled in price.
I remember the last time you were on, you were saying how, people that are thinking about investing in gold or silver, they shouldn't invest and let them store it because it doesn't make sense. If you need it, you need it. And I like to have something that I have in my hand. I don't want to invest in something and have somebody else warehouse it or store it, and then there's no way to get to it when you need it. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't think anything's imminent, so you could probably. I don't think I would just leave it lying around in your. This is for your audience, in your house, but you can go get one of those things at the bank where you can store it temporarily. But I would seriously tell everybody to invest in a safe and keep it there and keep it hidden.
Or bury it
because
somewhere.
or bury it or do something because I think. You can go. I don't really think this will happen. But in the 1930s, the U.S. confiscated everyone's gold because they wanted them to have dollars to try to get out of the Depression. So that there is precedent to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody gave it up. They buried it in their backyard. So
That's right.
So yeah. So I don't like those storage things because they even say it's outside the banking system, but I don't know who they're connected with, and also some of those storage places. I mean, when things really do hit the fan, and they need that. They think they're going to go let you go take it out of their vault. No, they're going to use it.
Uh-oh. Hello? Oh, you guys, I accidentally turned him off. I had a call coming in. I was trying to dismiss that call. I hate when I'm live and somebody call in while I'm live. You guys are not asking questions.
I'm sorry, I dropped off there.
No, it was me.
Oh.
I had a call come in, disturb us, and I was trying to not accept the call because it kept interrupting, and I accidentally cut you off. But I'm trying to get them to ask questions because, you know, I mean, you're going out of your way, and this is why you're here, and no one's asking questions. This is weird. I've only had one question, and no one else is asking questions, so I think this is going to be the last time I have you on.
Well, one other thing I can tell the audience is, I think, given how low interest rates are, if you can handle it, this would be the best time to take on debt. And debt is not a, it kind of gets a bad name, but all debt is pretty much borrowing from the future for today. But if you can get a lower price today, then it actually makes sense. Mm-hmm. So the reason I say that is because if I'm just talking with a mortgage, I mean, interest rates are like at like 3%. That's like the lowest. That's the lowest in history. And if you can get a mortgage at 3%, you can buy way more house than you probably will be able to buy in the future, because that adds an awful lot. And the other thing with that is if you think about the stock market, which is historically returned like 8% per year, and if you can borrow at 3%, I mean, there's a difference of 5% there. But I'm not telling everybody to go borrow and put it in the stock market. Okay. But I'm just saying that there are places to invest, and money is really cheap right now. And I don't know everyone's individual financial situation, but I will say that if you're looking to buy something, this is the best time to buy it. As long as you can make the payments, you're not going to get it cheaper than you're going to get it now. Really? I don't feel that way, because, like I said, the rates can't go much lower, because you're going to crush the banking system if they can't lend out and get a decent return, and they can't do that. They've already bailed them out in 2008, so your rates can't go much lower than they are now. Wow. I mean, it used to be a standard of renting. I mean, borrowing like 5% for a car. Now you can get one for like 3%. Really? And a new car you can get even at 1% practically. A used car at 3 was unheard of. It used to be like 7, and that's not even that long ago. We're not even talking back when interest rates were really high in the 80s. We're talking just last decade. Well, it sounded like we're not in a good place right now. Well, yeah. And I actually think money is going to be harder to get later. And so that's why I'm taking money out of my house. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I know that I'm not going to get an interest rate this low later. Money's got to be harder to get? Yes. And I can put that somewhere else. I might just go walk in and just pay cash for a house. Say, here. Nobody else can get, no one else can finance, but I can just write you a check, and then I can negotiate my price. Say, okay, no one else can afford this house, so you're gonna have to drop it at $50,000 for me because I can pay it in cash. That's very smart, a very wise move, because people take cash over promise anytime. Yeah. Because then they run the risk of having to finance it and wait for them to get their money. If you're doing it with cash, that's guaranteed, because somebody else could go into default, and then next thing you know, they gotta get them out of there, foreclosure, etc. You just buy it straight out. Yeah, they're gonna want that. Right. And sometimes they've moved out of their house. They've taken a new job, and when you come with cash, you can do a 7-day close. They got to wait another 30 days for someone's mortgage to clear. Whose money do you think they're going to take? True. So those are some of the things that I look at when I don't just do stock market. I do a lot of financial things. I look at debt. I look at, I've always had this fascination with money and value. So those are kind of the things. So I can answer any question. It doesn't have to be stock market related.
Right.
Maybe nobody has a question.
Nobody's asking questions. This is so weird. I can't believe this. Absolutely nobody. Only one person asked the question. So I just don't want you to waste your time and me waste my time and people are not asking questions. That's why we have this group. And so many people have been asking me, when are you going to come on? And now that you're on, nobody's asking questions. So if I don't get no questions, this is going to be the last time I'm going to invite Mr. X in here. I'm not doing it anymore. You guys are not asking questions. Don't you want to know how to get your business started or what's best to invest in your own business? Or don't you guys have questions? What you want to know, what you feel you always want to ask somebody that would know, because he would most likely know or have an idea, could point you in the right direction. And nobody's asking questions. This is so bizarre. I can't believe this happened the last time. And this happened. That's why I don't bring Tammy back anymore, because I was bringing her in, and nobody's asking questions. I can't believe this. And people will pay an arm and a leg to get you to come and speak. Because you used to do this, and they're getting you absolutely free right now, and they're not asking questions. If they only knew who you were.
Well, that's okay. I'm not giving individual stock tips or something. Maybe that's what they want.
I don't know. Somebody got to be interested in real estate. Somebody got to be interested in, what's the best way of going about getting a grant, how to get a grant, how to get benefits for their loved ones who's probably a veteran or something, or I don't know.
Or taxes, because I have a master's in tax.
We're in the tax season right now, and how to get the best and the most out of this. And nobody's asking questions, so I'm not going to keep you much longer. I think we covered a lot, though. This video will stay up. Anything else you feel like you want to mention? You want to throw in?
No. Let's just see how things go. I do think I'll just recap a little bit. I think the first half of the year, this is market-wise, I think you'll do okay. I think there will be a sell-off sometime to correct this, because I think it's gone too far too fast. I do worry about the fall, but we need to get closer to that so I can really feel good. I don't feel good about 2021 at all, because after the election, I feel like it's all going to come crashing down. And I feel like even more, depending on who wins, like if Congress stays the way it is now, or even if it becomes a unified government, this is going to get worse, because you're going to see all kinds of things start happening. Because when you don't have to go run for re-election, then you can do whatever you want. That's what the scary part is for 2021.
Well, I'm going to continue to do my accumulating, they call it stacking. I'm going to continue doing that. The least I could do, if it comes to the worst, I can always sell this stuff online or open a resale shop or something like that. I just feel like we're getting ready to go through I think we're going to go through a financial tribulation. That's what I'm feeling intuitively. I feel like we've always known this was coming. We've been talking about this since before 2000. Everybody kept saying something's coming. The company gonna collapse, and are people preparing for it? And it's like we're here now. So with whatever time that we have, whatever space that we have from now and the worst, I think catch it now and be prepared the best you can for what may possibly transpire soon. So yeah. I'm wondering what your future trajectory is. What is your future trajectory?
I don't think it's going to be horrible, but I don't think it's going to be good for a long time. So let me put it to you this way. When you have low interest rates like this, where everybody could borrow and buy whatever they want, you basically took all your earnings in the stock market or whatever and moved them forward. So I think you're going to go through a period of sluggish growth. I think the unemployment rate is going to go way up. And I think, though, I would look at the indicators of if it starts going above like 4.5, once you start getting two months in a row going back up, that starts becoming a problem. That's usually a leading indicator that things aren't doing so well. As far as like January, this is one of the things I wanted to tell the viewers is January actually is a very good barometer month for the year in the markets. Mm-hmm. And generally, if January has a low lower than the December low, which was December 3rd, it is almost has like a 97% accuracy rate. If it's lower than the January low is lower than the December low, mm-hmm. then the market is almost always negative for the year. Mm. It's only failed like 3 times in the last 70 years. Mm-hmm. That's something that to keep an eye on. That's a tip for your viewers here, even though they're not asking me questions. Well, keep an eye on at the end of the month. At the end of the month of January, you should kind of have a good read on what's going to happen for the rest of the year.
Well, I'm not certain if the questions are delayed or something because it looks like there's a delay here. I don't know if I'm delayed, but it looks like there's a delay because when I write something, I don't see it show up for like 10 minutes. Okay, so they may be asking questions, but and if that is the case, we can always come back. It would make me feel great to know that I tried to do something wonderful for my viewers and my followers by having you come on. And mm-hmm. I would like that not to be in vain, but I'm certainly, learning, and I'm going to always go back to this as a point of reference. So I really appreciate your time, and I appreciate your knowledge and your information and your wisdom. Unfortunately, I don't know if Facebook, I hate when I go live on Facebook. I should do this on YouTube, but when I go live on Facebook, it tends to have a bit of a delay. But I'm not going to keep you any longer. I want to thank you so much. I appreciate you for your time, and I will give you some feedback and let you know and update you on if indeed there were questions that popped up once we got off this live. But I really want to thank you, and I really have learned a lot. I've been taking notes, and I appreciate your time, your energy, and your knowledge, and I appreciate you really, really very much. I just don't even know how to say it. That's how much.
No, well, thank you.
Appreciate you. Okay.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me on.
Okay, and thank you. I would like for you and Demetrius. His name is Demetrius, and he may be watching. He may watch later, but I know that you guys kind of connected the last time, and you said that you guys may it would be good if you guys somehow communicated. So I'll reach out mm-hmm. to him and figure out a way to get you guys to communicate. I wish you had a Facebook called Mr. X or something. So,
I'm not.
I know.
I'm not a fan of Facebook personally.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe even an email that someone can communicate.
That's true.
Yeah, but I know that's not what you're trying to do. You're a busy man, and I can always be the mediator, between you guys. So again, I want to thank you. I'm going to go ahead and end the live, and thank everyone else for watching. And I'll be in touch with you. I really appreciate you, and thank your lovely wife also for keeping me reminded and making sure that I remembered that we were going to go on today. Mm-hmm. And I really appreciate you. God bless you. Thank you, Mr. X.
Well, thank you. All right. Take care.
Okay,
bye-bye.
Good night. All right, you guys. I don't know what's going on. If you do have questions, I will see to it that we get back where you guys can ask. Where I can let him know what the questions were, and then he can answer them. Other than that, I want to thank you guys for watching. I don't know what's going on. It may not even be your fault as far as the questions not popping up. It could be this Facebook. But until next time, thank you for tuning in. Thank you so much, Patricia, for asking a question. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you to Shona. Thank you, Dion. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. I really appreciate you. Thank you, Monica. And whoever else I didn't mention, thank you, I am. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And I'm out. See y'all. See, you won't even cut off. It's like, I don't know what to do. I think we're going to have to figure out something in regards to, maybe I should come on another computer or something. This thing is horrible. Facebook is horrible. I'm through with Facebook. Okay, it's not cutting off. I just don't know. Can't be my laptop. It's not my laptop. It's Facebook. It's Facebook Live. That's what's going on. It's delayed. I can't even cut off. I can't even get off this thing. Okay. Bye. I'll figure something out. And shaking my head. It's the computer. It's gotta be.